I certainly wouldn't be able to run very well if I needed to though. I was in no rush to open the fourth envelope. I brought it inside my home and opened it. I pulled out the USB. I took a few shots of whiskey before plugging it in. I'm sure you are all wondering what it said. Well, here it is. Congratulations, only the true Elite 8 of you are left. There were a few upsets last round, but we are pleased to see the remaining selection. We are saddened to admit that our tournament is nearing its end. So, we are going to make this round extra special. Each of you has been a hunter, and each of you have been hunted. We have simply watched. For this round you only have to survive. We will send out one of our very own to hunt down each of you. The 4 who survive will advance. You can attempt to kill your hunter, and if you do you will receive an automatic buy. In theory all 8 of you could make it to the next round, but we are quite confident in our own. We will also refrain from tracking your phones. Keeping your phone on you is a requirement, so we may contact you to notify you of making it to the next round. You will get a 24-hour head start starting now. Good luck. That was that. There was no update on my parents this time. I finished the bottle of whiskey I had before packing my things. I hadn't given up entirely, but I was close to the edge. Even if I won this whole thing, what could possibly be waiting for me at the end? I had dipped into my savings to buy a 9mm pistol during my wait between rounds. I was a bit surprised when I passed the background check for it, but this is America, and they don't exactly know what I've done yet. I hid the gun around my waist in a strap. Whoever they were sending after me almost certainly knew about it, but this was still the best weapon I had. I didn't need to necessarily kill anyone this round though. I just needed to outlast everyone else. I wasn't sure where I should go. So I just began to aimlessly drive. I wasn't sure if this would make it easier or harder to follow me. With about 6 hours left of my head start I decided to get some sleep. I wasn't sure how long this round would take. I needed to rest while I could. I slept in my car on a dirt road. I didn't want to waste money on a hotel. Most hotels require it, which I'm sure they were tracking. I had pulled out enough cash from my account to keep me going for about a week. I wasn't going to use my cards. That too could easily be tracked. 3 days in, and everything seemed to be going good. I hadn't seen any signs of being followed. I had traveled through a few states, mostly taking back roads. I was now settled in a maze of dirt roads in the center of the country. My phone had lost signal out here. I wondered if anyone had died yet. I parked to stretch. While I did so, I decided to walk out into a cornfield. I had never seen a corn plant up close, let alone thousands of them. I walked a bit into the field when I heard a car approaching. I stood still in my tracks. I wasn't sure if it was my hunter or possibly an angry farmer. Either way, I shouldn't be here. I heard the vehicle begin to slow down, and eventually come to a stop. I still refused to move. They could guess that I was in the field, but they wouldn't know exactly where. I heard a door open, and feet crunching against the dirt. Footsteps were next, but not towards me. They went to my car. Next, I would hear air quickly deflating from one of my tires. Well, that was unfortunate. If you come out now I'll make this quick, and mostly painless. Make me chase you, and it will be much worse. You're quite unlucky though, 3 of the others are already dead. Once I finish here, we'll be able to start the next round. A voice said. It was distinctly male, but I couldn't recognize it. I still chose to not move. Well, I did slowly move my hand towards my gun, but that was it. I grasped it in my hand, and turned off the safety. A few minutes rolled by as the standoff continued. Have it your way. I almost feel bad for the farmer. I'm going to use one of your own techniques against you. He said this briefly before I heard a crash of glass to my side. I stood there for a few more moments before I saw the first signs of fire approaching me. I had 2 options. Let myself be consumed by the fire, or sprint out of the cornfield. As tempting as death sounded, I wasn't quite ready for it yet. I would at least put up a fight. I did my best to sprint out of the field back towards where my car had been, gun in hand. I knew I was making a lot of noise, and my bad leg wasn't exactly cooperating with me, but it didn't matter at this point. When I emerged from the cornfield I raised my gun and pointed it at no one. I saw no one as the world faded to black. I woke up. The room was dark. My first thought was, am I dead? I tried to move any of my limbs, but I was unable to. Is this hell? Well, if it was at least I would be free, in a way. My hopes were shortly crushed though as light soon flooded the room. I could now see I was lying on my stomach. I must have been tied up, because I couldn't move. Looking up I saw in front of me was an average-sized man. He was wearing a plain white mask. It only exposed his bright blue eyes. As colorful as they were, there was something menacing behind them. I told you I would have given you an easy death, but here we are. Now I'm going to have a little bit of fun. Even through the mask, I could tell the man was smiling. He hadn't wanted me to just give myself up. This was exactly what he wanted. He pulled out a knife and began to circle me, eyeing me up and down. After a few moments he seemed to have decided what he was going to do. He approached me and placed his knee on my back. I could sense as he delicately cut off the legs to my pants. Next, I felt as he grabbed hold of my previously injured leg. Then I began to scream in pain as I felt the blade pierce my skin. He didn't stop there either. He continued to slice downwards, even further than the previous wound had been. I knew my screaming was giving him satisfaction, but the pain was so excruciating that I couldn't help it. Once he finally felt satisfied he removed the blade. As my screams began to die down, I could now hear a new sound. Laughter. This man was laughing at me while he tortured me. He removed his knee from my back, and proceeded to kick me to flip me onto my back. I'm pretty sure he cracked a rib or 2 in the process. Now on my back I watched as he brought the now bloody blade up to my face. He used this opportunity to wipe some of my blood onto my lips and under my nose. What next? Do you have any suggestions? He said mockingly while playing with the blade. Oh, I just got the best idea. I already took one of your ideas, why not try another? He exclaimed. I wasn't sure what he meant at first. I would understand the horror he had in store for me shortly though. He again kicked me to flip me over. The momentum wasn't enough to flip me from off my back though. So he pushed me over himself. The blade now dug into my upper arm. He slowly began to bring it back and forth in a sawing motion. He intended to slowly cut off my arm. I once again began to scream as the pain was simply too much. This only lasted a few seconds though, as a new sound entered the room. It was a phone ringing. The man halted his removal of my arm, and immediately went to answer the phone. Hello? He answered. He proceeded to listen to whoever was on the other line for a few moments. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but it must have been someone important for him to stop his fun. Understood. This was the only other word he said before hanging up the phone. He once again approached me with the knife. He didn't continue cutting into my arm though. Instead he freed the restraints on my hands. It's your lucky day. I took a bit too much time playing with you. Another contestant was killed. You'll want to close that wound on your leg as soon as possible though. There should be some supplies in the bathroom. Your things are in your car outside. You'll need to change the back tire. Welcome to the Final Four. He said this as he walked away. It was obvious he wasn't happy that he didn't get to finish, but whoever was in charge must be even scarier than this guy. He then left me alone. Even though my hands were free, I was in so much pain that it took me about 30 seconds to even move. Removing the restraints on my legs was an intense struggle. The new wound on my leg was bleeding profusely. I wasn't able to stand even once I removed the rope tying my feet together. I crawled to the bathroom where I was able to find a first aid kit. For whatever reason, there was also a container of Gorilla Glue in one of the cabinets. Once I had managed to clean away most of the blood, I managed to glue the wound on my leg shut. I wasn't convinced it would stay together, but it would have to work until I could stitch it up later. My shoulder wasn't as bad. I wrapped it in gauze and bandaged it. I managed to stand myself up despite everything. I had to hop out to my car though. Changing a tire under normal circumstances wouldn't have been a problem for me, but with one leg, and potentially broken ribs, it was a nightmare. I was able to push through the pain. Despite everything, I was still alive. I wasn't going to let a flat tire be the death of me. After at least an hour of struggling with it, I managed to put on the spare. As I began the drive home, I couldn't help but hope there was a long break before round 5.
Comment for round 5.